Whether you like it or not, if you want to succeed as a data analyst, then you must be familiar with functions. Be it Excel functions, be it SQL functions, or functions that will help you execute some tasks in Python. So the center point of this video is to reveal some basic and popular functions that most analysts work with so you can be familiar with them. Now, take note of the fact that these are popular functions that are mostly used on a daily basis. So I have taken my time to extract some of these popular functions and show you how they work using Excel as a case study. In subsequent video, I will do the same thing using SQL, and I'll also do the same thing using Python. So if you have not subscribed to this channel, tap the subscribe button and activate the notification icon, because you will be the first to be notified when I release the next set of videos. So let's get started. For successful execution of this video, I will briefly explain what the function does. Then I will give you more practical example of how you can conduct analysis using the function I will specify. I hope you understand. So if you want to follow along, check one of the link in the description to download this data set. So you can see that we have series of information. This is a sales data. By the side here, you can see that we want to create a sales report. Everything has been arranged. Now, when I move to the other side here, these are some questions that we ask. So this is exactly how it happened. Now, imagine you work in an organization and you have a boss, someone you report to, and the person will be like, what is the total number of transactions that was made in 2024? These are questions that you'll be asked. Then you can use Excel functions to actually calculate this. I hope you understand. So these are the same thing that goes on and on for all the questions I have specified here. So if you download this document, take your time to go through this requirement and understand the need for the analysis before you now begin to go ahead and conduct the analysis. Because one thing about data is that you can interpret it in several different ways, although the result will be the same, but the insight or the calculation or the estimates you can bring out from a data is numerous. I hope you understand. So we are being guided by the set of questions which our boss has already presented by the side here. So take your time to go through it. Now, the first thing we need to do based on the requirements in that very particular set of questions is to calculate the total number of transactions. So in situations like this, the count function is handy. So what you need to do is to introduce the equal sign, and then you introduce the count function. What you basically do is to count number of cells that are not empty. I hope you understand. So I can just scroll to any cell of my choice. I can pick this column, anyone. I'll press and hold Ctrl and Shift on my keyboard. Then I'll press the down arrow. You can see that it has selected everything downwards. So what I need to do is to come here, close my parentheses and hit enter. I have gotten 1000 transactions, which is exactly what this data covers. I hope you understand. So that's it for the count function. Talking about the average function, what it basically do is to calculate the average, that is the middle value of a particular range of value. So for example, here now, we want to look at the average product price. If you scroll to this very particular data set, you could see that this is the column for price. So we have different entries here. Now, what is their average? To do this is quite simple. I'll type my equal sign, then I'll introduce the average function. I'll make reference to the column for price. Then I'll just select everything downward, close my parentheses and hit enter. That's it, I'm done. All these are basic functions. I hope you understand. Our next question incorporates the use of three functions: the max, the index, and the match function. So I will show you how to combine this to solve this problem. And before I begin, let me quickly show you what the question is all about. The question says, which product category has the highest sales? Which product category has the highest sales? So if you scroll through the data we have here, this is the column for product category, and this is the column for revenue. Revenue sales goes hand in hand. I hope you understand. So I want to check what is the highest revenue here. Then I will link it to the product category. So I will just come back to my report section here. First of all, I will introduce the max function because it will help me calculate the maximum revenue. I hope you understand. So I will introduce the max function like this. Then I will specify my range as the revenue column. Press and hold Ctrl and Shift and then select downwards. Then I will close my parentheses. Now, instead of me to hit enter, I'll now have to introduce the index and match function. I hope you understand. Now, what this max, there's a difference between the match and the max. What this max function help me does is to calculate the maximum, which one is the highest. So I will come back to this very particular side now. Then I will introduce the index function, something like this. Now, my array, as far as the index function is concerned, is exactly where the product category is located. So I will just scroll to the top side here, click on this, and then make the selection downwards. I have selected my array as far as the index function is concerned. Then I'll hit comma on my keyboard. Now, the row number, when it comes to the row number, that's when I will now introduce the match function. So I will just type in match here. Then my lookup value for the match function is the maximum revenue I have calculated earlier. Don't confuse yourself. Take time. You understand what I'm trying to say. So I will just hit comma on my keyboard. Now, lookup array. This maximum revenue, where is it located? It is located in the same column here. So I'll just select this. Then I will make the selection upward, something like this. And that's it. My match function has been concluded. When I hit comma on my keyboard, then I'll just type in 0 so that I will get an exact match. Close my parentheses for the match function, which is this. Then I'll also close my parentheses for the index function, and I am good to go. So if I just hit enter on my keyboard, you could see that laptop is the category that actually has the highest revenue. Now, if you are confused a little bit, I have a video where I go in depth in combining 2 or more functions together. Just click the card above to watch that video after you are done with this. Talking about the sum function, it is basically used to add up values, simple and straightforward. And since what we are interested in is to calculate the total revenue that was made, all we need to do is to introduce the sum function like this, and then come to the revenue column, which is located on our data set. I will select the first cell, and then I'll make selection downward, close my parentheses, and I'll hit enter. That is it, as simple as straightforward. The if function is a conditional function that helps you validate if something is true or not. The sum function will just help you calculate and sum things up. I hope you understand. So to use these 2 functions together, first of all, I will introduce the sum function again so that I can calculate the total revenue. So I'll come back to the revenue column, which is located here. I'll make selection downwards. After calculating my total revenue, I will not hit enter. The next thing I will do now is to introduce the if function, because if you go through the question, it says, did we meet a target of 50 million? That's why it's advisable for you to go through the question so that you connect with what I'm saying. So I will introduce the if function, something like this. This very particular sum function that we used earlier is part of my logical test. So I want to test if everything here is greater than 50 million. So I will just type 50, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 50 million. If the condition is met, then I want it to return achieved, something like this. Let me make it capitalized. And if this condition is not met, then I want it to return not achieved. Don't forget, whenever you are imputing a string inside an Excel formula, not just in Excel, in SQL, in Python, anywhere, whenever you are introducing a string, or let me say letters, make sure they are inside an open and close parentheses. So I will just say not achieved, something like this, close the quotation, then I will close my if function, and I am good to go. So if I hit enter on my keyboard, you will see that this target is not achieved. I hope you understand. The next problem is to calculate the top revenue category. And to answer this question, we need to take note of the highest revenue made, and then we now link it and find out that very particular product fall on which category. I hope you understand. So after breaking it down like this, what you need to do now is to calculate the highest in this situation and then link it up to which category it falls. I hope you get. So in this situation, for me to calculate the highest, I can either use the large function or the max function. Since I've already used the max function in the previous example, I will use the large function in this case. So I will introduce the large function, then I will specify this very particular column as my array. I'll make the selection downwards, then I'll hit comma on my keyboard, and then I'll specify what order of largest do I want. If I type 1, I want the first largest. If I type 2, I want the second largest, and so on and so forth. Since I want the first, I will just make selection of this, and this is exactly what I have. Now, if I hit enter, it will give me the maximum or the highest revenue, but that's not what I'm interested in. In essence, what I'm interested in is to calculate which category does it falls based on the question that we want to answer. Now, for me to do that, I'll need to introduce the XLOOKUP or the index and match function. The index and match function is something I showed you earlier, but the XLOOKUP is something we've not discussed. So I will just type XLOOKUP in this situation, something like this. My lookup value is exactly what I just specified. So it will calculate this and then return the answer as my lookup value. After that, I will now specify my lookup array. This very particular thing, where is it located? It is located in this very particular range for revenue, something like this. After selecting it, then what do I want to return? I want to return this very particular category, something like this. I'll just close my parentheses and I am done. Yes, and that's the end of it. So I'll just hit enter on my keyboard, and this is it. Laptop happens to have the highest category, but it seems as if we've done something similar before. Okay, in this instance, we are dealing with product, not category. So I'll just double click on this and then make changes to it. And I will just come back to this place when it comes to the array for the index section. Now, instead of me to specify product category, rather, I will just select the product name. So I'll make selection from this and go downwards. And that's the edit I need to make. I'll hit enter on my keyboard. You could see this is the highest product. So that has been corrected. Sorry for the misunderstanding. Let's move forward. The next problem we want to solve is that of laptop sales performance. Now, if you scroll through the question that reflects that one, it says, I am interested in the performance of laptop sales in Asia. I hope you understand. So I will just come back to this cell now, and I will use the SUMIFS function because I will filter it by the continent, which is Asia, by the product, which is laptop, and then calculate the revenue made on that. So the formula I will use to execute this is the SUMIFS function. So I'll type my equal sign, then I will introduce SUMIFS, which is this. My sum range is where the revenue falls into. So I will select this and make all the selection downwards. Then I'll hit comma in this very particular place. My criteria 1, that is exactly what I want to specify. So I will come back here and I will select all the data for region. I will hit comma on my keyboard, and the criteria I want is Asia. So I can just scroll through. Wherever I see Asia, I will just select it as my criteria 1. Hit comma on my keyboard. Then the next criteria this time around is the product, that is laptop. So I will just select everything that fall under the product category, which is the range that what we are interested in is located. Hit comma on my keyboard, then I will specify laptop as what I am interested in this situation. I hope you understand. After that, then every other thing should remain the same. I will close my parentheses and then I will hit enter. You will see exactly what we have. So as far as laptop sales in Asia is concerned, this is the amount that was made. I hope you get it. The next problem we want to solve reflects smartphone, which is this very particular one. So if you scroll through the list of questions we have, it says, did we meet our target of 300 transactions for smartphone sales? So what we are interested in is to count the number of smartphone transactions and then see if they are up to 300. So the function we need to use for this is the COUNTIF function. So I will just go back to my report section. I'll come down here, which is this very particular one. Then I'll type the equal sign and introduce the COUNTIF function because that is what will help me do that. I'll hit my tab key, and then my range is to count this very particular one where smartphone is located, which is this. I will select all the way down, then I'll hit comma on my keyboard. After that, I will now specify the criteria, and the criteria is smartphone. Now, I will close my parentheses and then hit enter. You could see exactly what I have, 235. which is not up to 300, it means the criteria is not met. But if you want to refine it further, you could introduce the if function and then specify achieved if the criteria is achieved, otherwise not achieved if the criteria is not. I hope you understand. I've done something similar in previous example. Then the next problem we want to solve is this: laptop sold by Dana White. So if you want to get more detail about the question, just scroll through. You could see the question says, how many laptops were sold by agent Dana White? So after we identify where the agent is, then we now calculate how many laptops that very particular agent sold. I hope you understand. So the best way to go about this is to introduce the COUNTIFS function. So I will just type the equal sign on my keyboard, then I will introduce COUNTIFS, which is this. Now my criteria 1 is this very particular column where agents are located. So I will just select all these, then I'll bring it downwards like this. I'll hit comma on my keyboard. Then my criteria in this situation is Dana White, because that is the person of interest. I will just tap on her name and then I'll hit comma on my keyboard. After that has been done, then I'll move to the next criteria, which is laptop in this situation, and laptop falls under this column. So I will just select all this all the way to the top, something like this. Then I'll hit comma on my keyboard and then I'll look for where laptop appears, which is this. Then I'll just close my parentheses and then hit enter. You could see that we have 54, but the question is interested in what? Let's see. How many laptops were sold by Dana White? So you could see that so far as the laptop category is concerned, the agent Dana White sold 54 units. I hope you get. Then the next question we want to solve reflects the lowest category of sales made. I hope you understand. So this is the description of it. Now, if you move to the question section here, you will see it says which category has the lowest sales. So we have to look for what the lowest sale is, otherwise what the lowest revenue is. Then we now link it. Okay, this lowest revenue, which category does it tally to? That is our interest in this situation. So I will just come back to somewhere like this very particular cell. Then I'll introduce the MIN function because it will help me calculate the lowest. Then I'll make reference to the revenue column here. I will select everything downwards. Then I will just close parentheses. Now, this very particular function will help me return the lowest revenue. But what I'm interested in is which category does it fall under. So I will introduce the XLOOKUP in this situation. You could do the same thing using the index and match. I will come back after the formula, introduce the XLOOKUP, which is something like this. Now my lookup value is this because I want to look up for this very particular value, which is located in this range of data. So I will select the revenue range again. Then I'll hit comma. What I want to return is the category. So I will select this and then make the selection downwards. You will see that has been reflected. I will hit comma on my keyboard. If it is not found, I will need to skip this. So I will hit comma again because I don't want to use that very particular parameter. Now, talking about the kind of match I want to do, I need an exact match. So I will just type 0 here, close my parentheses, and I am done. I will hit enter on my keyboard. You will see that it falls under accessories. I hope you get the message. The technique that was used in the previous instance is the same thing we'll be using in this instance, and that is to look for the person that has the lowest sales. Among all the list of agents we have, who has the lowest sale? So if you cross-check given the questions we have here, you could see that we are looking for which salesperson record the lowest sale. So I can also use the MIN function again because we are also dealing with lowest sale. I will introduce the MIN function in this situation after imputing my equal sign. Then I will reference the revenue column, which is this. Hit comma on my keyboard, or let me just say I will close my parentheses, and this will return the minimum revenue. But what I'm interested in is to look for the person who has this minimum revenue. So I will introduce the XLOOKUP function. I will select this as my lookup value, hit comma on my keyboard. Then my lookup array is this very particular range, which is the same with the one I specified. When I'm dealing with the main function, I'll hit comma on my keyboard. My return array, where I want to extract the information that Tally is salesperson in this situation. So I will select from number 1 here, and I'll make all the selection downwards. After that, I will hit comma on my keyboard, hit comma again because I'm not interested in this parameter. Now, when it goes to the match section, I will just type 0 on my keyboard, close my parentheses, and then hit enter. You will see that Alice Johnson is the person that has the lowest sales. I hope you understand. The next problem we want to solve is to look at the top 3 products. Which product happens to be the highest, which one is the next, which one is the next, or let me say the best, the first runner-up, and the second runner-up. Now, if you scroll through the question section, you could see that the question says, can you present the top 3 best performing products? So I will come to this very particular cell here. Now, what I will need to do is to look for the 3 best revenue that was made. Then I will now link it to the product that made those revenue. I hope you understand. So I will introduce the large function in this situation because the large function will help me calculate the largest, the second largest, the third largest, and so on and so forth. So I will make selection to the revenue column, which is this, and then select it downward. Then I'll hit comma on my keyboard. After that, I will need to specify my K, which is what number of largest do I want. If I want 1, I type 1. If I want 2, I type 2. If I want 3, I type the third largest, and so on and so forth. So I'll close my parentheses, and then I'll hit enter on my keyboard. So you could see that this value is the largest. Now, if I want to get the second largest, what I need to do is to copy from the first one I just did. Then I will just paste it in the second one I just did. You could see that it gave me the same answer, but I will now change this to number 2 here, and then I will hit enter. You could see this is the second largest. I will repeat the same thing by copying what is inside the content to this cell. It's quite the same for now, but I will change this to 3, hit enter, and this is the third largest. So our next assignment is to link it to the name of the product. So I will come back to this cell, then I will introduce the index function. Index, I will type in index, something like this. Then I will specify the array I want to return, which is the array for product. So I will move to the top side here and make the selection downwards. I will hit comma on my keyboard. Now, when it talks about the row number, I will now introduce the match function here. And this time around, I will be using this very particular value as my match function, this one here. You could see that the formula has actually closed where the value is, but I will click on this, then I will use my arrow key to go up once. That is cell Q40. Then I'll hit comma on my keyboard. Where is cell Q40 located? It is located in this very particular range for formula, for revenue. So I'll make the selection downward, hit comma on my keyboard, then I'll type 0 because I want to return an exact match. Close parentheses for the match function, close parentheses for the index function, then I'll hit enter on my keyboard. So this is the product that reflects that category, where you can see that there is no space. So in this situation, I'll just bring it one step backward and you can see how clearly visible it is. I hope you understand. So if I want to get that of the second one, I will repeat the same thing. And what I will do now is to still introduce the index and match function. I will specify the column for product as my index array. Then I'll hit comma on my keyboard, then introduce the match function, just something similar to what we've done previously. So I will specify the second cell. I will have to repeat the same thing. Select this one first, then I will go downwards. That's Q41. Hit comma on my keyboard. Q41 is located within this very particular range for revenue. So I'll make the selection downwards as well. Then I will type 0, close parentheses for the match function, close parentheses for the index function, and hit enter. So this is a product that happens to be the second largest. Now to get the one which will be the second runner up, otherwise called the third largest, I will introduce a different function in this situation. I will use the XLOOKUP function, which is something like this. Then I will specify this as my lookup value, hit comma on my keyboard. When it comes to lookup array, I will still specify this very particular column here. Then I'll hit comma on my keyboard once more. The return array I want is this one, so I will select it upwards and I have something like this. Comma on my keyboard, comma again, then I'll type 0, close my parentheses and then hit enter. You could see that it has returned this product. So this and this happens to be the first and the second runner-up, and it now makes up the 3 top products that we have. I hope you understand. The next problem we want to solve reflects this one: sample home appliances. So if you cross-check within the questions that we have here, you could see that it says, show me a sample of data from home appliances sales only. So the question wants us to look at the data and then create a sample of only home appliances. Now, the function we'll be using to solve this problem is the filter function, and then we'll now introduce another different function again that will help us limit the number of entries that we want. Let's practicalize it. So I will move to the section or the cell where I want to specify it. Let me say to this very particular one here. I will hit the equal sign, then I will introduce the filter function, which is this. Now, I will need to specify my array, and that is the entire table in this situation. So I will select this, make the selection all through the table. Then I'll come back to my formula bar and then specify the column that captures home appliances, which is this. So I'll make the selection upwards and limit to only the data without the heading. So I'll make it equal to this very particular cell because I'm interested in home appliances. That is what the question specifies. After that, I will close my parentheses and I am done with the filter function. Now, if I hit enter on my keyboard, it will result to a spill error because as far as the home appliances category is concerned, there are a lot of data. And as you can see here now, we don't really have enough space to display the data in this situation. So as a result, I will only limit it to the first 5 records, meaning the first 5 rows. That is exactly what I want to display in this situation. Now, for me to do that, I need to use the take function. So I will come back to the front here and then I will introduce the take function, which is this. I will specify everything here as my array, hit comma on my keyboard. Then the number of rows I want is 5. Then I will just close my parentheses and then I'll hit enter. You could see that it has captured the data itself for me. So I can now make reference to the heading separately by coming to the top side here, click on it, and after this has been returned for the first one, I will now drag it forward like this, and the same thing will be done for other columns. Then if I want to take it one step forward, I will now apply some formatting to it, and before you know it looks something similar to this. So that problem has been solved. Okay, the next problem I would like us to solve is a question that reflects this very particular one: salesperson in both region. Now, if you cross-check to find out more detail about the question, it says which salesperson made sales in both Europe and Asia. So the question is, how many number of salesperson do we have and who are they? Then the next question is, do we have a single salesperson that makes sales in both Europe and Asia? If yes, then our condition is met, and if no, then our condition is not met. I hope you understand. So this is something that has to do with understanding more about the data set itself. Now, the function that can help us solve this problem is called the COUNTIFS function. So to get it done, I'll just type the equal sign on my keyboard, then I'll introduce the COUNTIFS. So my first parameter is to specify my criteria range. So first of all, I will start with region first. I hope you understand. So I will just go to this very particular place. I will select the entire range for region. I'll hit comma on my keyboard. Now, when it comes to the criteria, I will not specify Asia. Anywhere you see Asia among this column, you could actually do that, or you could even type it yourself and put it inside a quote. I hope you understand. So after this has been specified, I'll hit comma on my keyboard. Now, the next thing I need to do is to specify the name of the agent. First of all, I will select all this from down to this very particular point. That is for the criteria range. Then when it comes to the criteria, I will now specify the name of the agent. For example, Alice Johnson. So I will just close my parentheses. I'm done with the COUNTIF function. But remember that this very particular one is for Asia. I hope you understand. So I will say, okay, everything here, whatever it is we get, is it greater than 0? So I will bring in the greater sign. Then I will say, is this greater than 0? That's the first condition. Then the next condition we need to specify is this. I will introduce the count function again. That's the COUNTIFs. Then my next criteria is to specify this very particular region range. Hit comma on my keyboard, and the criteria this time around is Europe. So I will click on this very particular cell, hit comma on my keyboard. Then I will now specify the agent column as my next criteria, hit comma. And remember that the first time we choose Alice Johnson, I will still specify Alice Johnson again. Close my parentheses. Now, after specifying the whole formula as something that looks like this, then I will now introduce the AND function. So I'll come back to the front here. I will introduce the AND function, which is this. Then it will capture everything from this very particular range up to something here as my logical test 1. Then it will also now capture the second one as what? Logical test 2. So what I need to do now is just to close my parentheses and then I'll hit enter. You could see that the 2 condition is actually true, and that is why it returns true in this situation. Then that means that the first person that we test, which is Alice Johnson, happens to have sales in both Europe and Asia, and that is why the condition actually returned true, that they are both greater than 0. So in case if you find it difficult to understand it, just go back a little bit, play it again, understand the explanation, and you get the message. I hope you understand. Now, if you want to get the number of sales agents that we have, because you could see that in this column for sales agent, you could see repetition of Alice Johnson, you know. So if you want to get the number of sales agents and what are their names, this is what you need to do. I actually didn't provide a column to capture it in this analysis, but let me just display it by the side here. You need to introduce the unique function, which will help you do that. So after the unique function has been specified, you now select the range for salesperson, close your parentheses, and then you hit enter. So you could see that we have 5 sales agents, and these are their respective names. So you could just make reference to this cell instead of making reference to the main table. But if you want to make reference to the main table, it's okay, it's fine. There's no hard feeling. So let's move forward. The problem we'll be solving this time around is to extract unique product category. You'll remember vividly that in the product category section, we have different product category. Some of them repeat, in fact, all of them repeat themselves multiple times. So we want to extract the unique ones. Now, to do this, we'll be using the unique function because that is exactly what fits into the situation and will help us solve the problem. So I will go to the column or the cell I want to specify that. Then I'll introduce the unique function, which is this. I will specify my array, which is this very particular one here. Then I will close my parentheses and hit enter. You could see that we've captured home appliances, smartphone, laptop, and accessory. So these are the unique product categories that we have. Simple and straightforward. We are almost done and we have only 4 problems to solve. And the next one we want to see is the one that says sales target met. So to find out more information, let me just scroll to the question section here, and it says, did any salesperson make the target of 100 sales in either smartphone or laptop category? So in either smartphone or laptop category, do any salesperson meet the sales target of 100 units? If yes, we'll specify it, and if no, we'll specify it. Don't forget that I've actually captured the name of the salesperson by the side here. The function I need to get this done is the COUNTIFS function and then the SUM function. So let's implement this. I will introduce the COUNTIFS, which is this. Then I'll first of all start with this criteria that says criteria range 1. So I'll come back to this cell and then I will reference smartphone first. So I will select everything, hit comma on my keyboard. The first criteria I want to use is smartphone. Then I'll hit comma again. Then for criteria range 2, I will go back to the sales agent column. I'll select the range, then I'll hit comma and then specify the first person, for example, Alice Johnson. Then after that has been specified in this situation, then I will close my parentheses. So I have specified the first condition, that is for smartphone and the first sales agent. And I am dealing with Alice Johnson. So I have done that of smartphone. I will just hit comma on my keyboard, then I will introduce the COUNTIFS function for the second time again, which is something like this. For criteria range 2 this time around, I will now specify laptop. So first of all, I will capture this as my range, then I'll hit comma on my keyboard. Now this time around, I'll be dealing with laptops, which is this. I'll hit comma, then I'll come back and select the range for salesperson for the second time, hit comma on my keyboard and specify the same person again. I hope you get, because I'm dealing with Alice Johnson in this situation. So I will now close my parentheses. Now, what I have done is that I have tested if Alice Johnson actually makes sales on laptop and on smartphone. So the formula will count that of laptop and collaborate it with Alice Johnson, and then go back and count that of smartphone and collaborated it with Alice Johnson. For example, now this is Alice Johnson that collaborates with smartphone. It will be counted as 1. This is Alice Johnson that collaborates with laptop. It will be counted as 1 again. But if Alice Johnson collaborates with home appliances, that will not be what counted. I hope you understand. So I will now introduce the SUM function at the beginning here, something like this. I will now hit comma on my keyboard. This very particular comma symbol will now differentiate this COUNTIF function and the second COUNTIF function. So in case if you have not specified a comma in the middle, this is the time to do so. So I will just use this very particular one as my second number, close my parentheses, and then I'll hit enter. You will see, wow, this is exactly 100. So if you look at this very particular data now that says, did any salesperson meet the target of 100 sales? Then yes, that is the condition here, because this very particular person, when you join the two together, it gives 100. But in case if we want to try it for another person, let's say for a different person, I will cancel this, then I will specify a different person in this situation. Let me see, there was a part where I specify the sales agent's names. Anyway, let's go to the beginning, and this time around I want to specify if green for this situation. Then I'll come back to this cell again. I will still specify if green, the same person. Then I will hit enter for this time around. You can see this person now is more than 100. I hope you understand. So if you want to do for the next sales agent, you also need to re-edit again continuously until you are done for all sales agents. I hope you get the message. The next problem we want to solve is to categorize revenue levels. Now, if you go to the question that reflects this one, you could see that it says categorize the revenue as follows. Anything less than 5,000 will be captured as low. Anything in between 5,000 to 20,000 will be counted as medium. And then anything above 20,000 will be counted as what? High. So if I scroll to the side here, you can see that, yes, this is captured as what? High. So instead of doing this individually, I will just give you 1 or 2 examples. Then if you have time, you can relate for other products in the same category. So to solve this problem, I'll be using nested if. That is a combination of if function repeated multiple times. The first thing I want to do now is to specify, for example, the first entry of the revenue section. So if what is inside the content of this cell is less than 5,000, so I will type in 5,000 here. What will happen? It should return low for me, something like this. If this condition is not met, instead of me to now impute the value if false, I will now introduce another if function again. I hope you understand. So I will introduce the if function for the second time. Then I will now specify that if the same cell is now less than or equal to 20,000, that is the next criteria. So I will type in 20,000, which is this. Then it should return what? Median. So I would specify median in this situation. Now, if this condition is not met again, that is when the third one will now apply. I hope you understand. So I'll hit comma. The value if false in this situation will now become high, something like this. So I will just place it inside a quotation mark and I am done. So I will close parentheses for this very particular if function. Then I'll also close parentheses for the general if function. And before I hit enter, let me explain what is happening. The criteria we have is 3. Anything less than 5,000 is low. From 5,000 to 20,000 is median, and then above $20,000 is what? High. So I introduced the if function. So I specified the first entry in this cell, and I said if it is less than 5,000, then capture it as what? Low. Now, instead of me to specify value if false for the first if function, and I introduce another if function again. So that is what makes it to something we call the nested if. So after introducing the next if function, I specify the same content of cell, and then I say if it is less than or equal to 20,000, meaning anything above 5,000 would automatically be captured in this. But even though we specify less than, whenever it is less than 5,000, then this first criteria will hold. I hope you understand. Now, if this condition is true, then return median. And if this condition is not true again, it means it is now above 20,000, then we should return high. I hope you understand the situation. So if I am done like this, I will just hit enter on my keyboard. You could see that the first instance we got is actually low, because when you look at this very particular value, it is what? Less than 5,000. Now, if we want to apply the same thing to this very particular cell, or let me say to this very particular cell here, that's cell G19. So I will just copy this very particular one. I will bring it down a bit like this. Then I will specify cell G19, which is this. So I will specify G19 here, come back and then specify G19 in this situation. Then I will hit enter. You will see that this is captured all as median. I hope you get. So that is exactly what I'm trying to explain when I was talking about nested if. The next problem we want to solve is the one that captures region with 10K plus. And if you scroll through the list of questions that we have here, you could see that the one that reflects that says identify the region with revenue greater than 10,000 and sort them in alphabetical order. So to solve this problem, we'll be using two functions, the filter function and then the sort function. Now let's move to the cell where this will be executed. So I'll just come back to this very particular one. First of all, I will introduce the filter function in this situation, and my array is something I have shown you earlier. So I will just capture this very particular one entirely as my array. Now, before I do that, let me just come one cell downwards. Previously, I started here. So let me come to this cell, and then I will repeat the same thing and capture my entire table as my array. From here, go rightward and go downwards. This has been captured. I'll hit comma on my keyboard. Now, I need to include my criteria, and the criteria is that what is inside this very particular cell for revenue should be greater or equal to 10,000. So I'll type in 1, 2, 3, which is 10,000 here. I'm done with the filter function. I'll close my parentheses. Now, if I hit enter on my keyboard, it will return a lot of entries for me. As far as it is greater than 10,000, it will return it for me. I hope you understand. But I would like to limit it to, let's say, the first 5 or the first 6 or the first 7. I hope you understand. So I will come back to the front here, then I will introduce the take function. I will capture all this one as my array, then I'll hit comma, and then I'll specify, let me see, 5 rows. I want to specify 5 rows. I'll close my parentheses. After this has been done, then I'll come back again, then I'll introduce the sort function so that it can now capture the entire function here as my what array for the second time. I will hit comma on my keyboard, sort index, just skip it by typing comma again. Then the order I want to sort it by is 2. This is for ascending, this is for descending. So I want to sort it by descending order. I will close my parentheses here. You could see that the entire formula has been captured. Then I'll hit enter on my keyboard. So this is it. You could see that this has been sorted and it started from transaction number 4, 5, 8, 13, and 15. I hope you understand. So this is exactly what we have. Then the final problem we want to solve is the one that reflects the highest revenue category. So let's scroll through and see what the problem is all about. And the question says, which product category generated the highest revenue in each region? That is to say, we need to first of all look at the region we have, and then we'll now look at the product category we have and say, okay, across different product category and different region, which one is the highest? I hope you understand. So to get this done, let's probably come to this side and return the unique value across product category and then region. So I will just come back to this cell. That's for region. In this situation, I will select everything and then I'll hit enter. You could see the regions that we have. Then the next thing is for product category. I will still return the unique function for the second time again. Then I'll specify product category in this situation. We've done something similar before, and this is exactly what we have. So what we need to do now is to look at this and then look at the sales in northern region, come back to the same product category and look at the sales in South America region, come back to the same category, align it with Europe, come back to the same category, align it to this, come back to this one, align it to this. After we are done, we go to the next one and repeat the same thing until we are done for all of them. I hope you understand. Then we now extract the highest. It will take a quite number of time if you are doing this with formula and functions, but if you are using pivot table, it will be quite easier for you to identify this. But let me just give you one example just for you to get an idea of how you can get something similar to this using Excel functions. So I will just move to the cell where this very particular one will be located, which is something around this place. And for a situation like this, we need to use the SUMIFS function. So I'll type the equal sign, then I'll introduce SUMIFS in this situation. Now my sum range is that of revenue, so I will just move to the top and select the entire revenue range, which is exactly what I have. Now my criteria that I need to specify is 2. The first one is for region, and then the second one is for product category. But remember that the priority is product category, so I will start with that. Now I will select everything from this range down to the all to the top. Then I will hit comma on my keyboard. The criteria one is home appliances. Let's start with that. For example, hit comma on my keyboard, and if I don't want to start with that, I will just scroll to the side here and then choose one of which I have specified. I'll start with this one, which is home appliances. Hit comma on my keyboard. Now the second criteria is the region. So I'll first of all select this range. After that has been done, I will hit comma on my keyboard. Then I will scroll to the side for the second time, and this time around, let me see, I will now specify this region. I will bring it one step downward, and this is exactly what I have. I will close my parentheses and the SUMIFS function is complete. So I'll hit enter on my keyboard, and this is exactly what I have. Now remember that what I just did is for home appliances and the North America region. So I will repeat the same thing for home appliances and the South America, home appliances and Europe, home appliances and Asia, home appliances and Africa. This is quite tricky and tedious, but you get the knowledge of how this can be used one way or the other. I hope you understand. So this brings us to the end of this very particular video. I hope it is impactful and that you've learned a lot. So you could see how data analysts use Excel function to manipulate their way around and create reports. If you ever come in a situation where you need to use one of these functions, remember this video, watch it, and it will equip you to do more better and become more efficient. And if you need a step-by-step breakdown of every single formula in Excel, I have a course dedicated for that. In this course, I go in depth and explain Excel function, starting with the popular ones, and then I go it one step at a time, adding more and more function to the list. So it's a continuous process. My aim is to explain the most number of Excel function that I can, so that if data analysts are working with their data, anytime you find it difficult to understand a function or you forgot it one way or the other, you could actually make reference to this and then get your job done. I hope you understand. So if you want to enroll in this course, check one of the link in the description of this video, click on it and go to my course dashboard. Enroll in the course and I will see you on the other side. Now that we are done with every estimation we need to do, the next thing is to print this report. You could actually go one step further and then format every entry that we have here. That's if you want to go ahead to format them much better. But once you are done, what you need to do now is to come back to this very particular side and then you zoom out so that you can see everything quite clear. This is how this section looks like. Then I will go to my page layout section. I will come back to print preview and then tap on this. But before I do that, first of all, I will select the area. So I want to select this very particular range somewhere around here. Then I will specify this as my print area so that when I go to print here, or maybe when I type in Ctrl P on my keyboard, you could see this is the data I want to print out. I hope you understand. So I could just specify my printer here and then click print and I'm done. This report has been specified. So ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this lesson. I'll see you on another one.